What's going on, Fortnite fans? My name is Luke-thenotable, and in this video, we'll be dropping into Dusty Divot 100 times. I learned so much from dropping into Salty Springs 100 times, and that video got 4.3 million views, so I had to make a sequel! So at the start of Fortnite Season 4, I dropped into Dusty Divot 100 times, cataloged what happened, and this video is going to be going over those events. And again, sorta sad that I need to bring this up, but this video is not clickbait. I did drop Dusty Divot 100 times, and you'll see all of those games, don't worry. I'll be going over some strategies, tactics, and overall advice when dropping into Dusty Divot. So when you drop there, you'll be ready to fight. And we may just end up seeing some weird things as well. But I think it's best that we just drop in ourselves. I dropped Dusty Divot 100 times, and this is what happened. Hey Torres, I need an idea for the intro. I can't... It's not a Halo video, so I gotta do the intro like singing. What should I do? Let's start with a history lesson. Now this is a video where I drop into Dusty Divot 100 times and tell you what happened. That's the title. But you may be wondering, how did Dusty Divot become such a crater? And you may be saying to yourself, Luke, what the hell? Everyone knows why Dusty Divot is the way it is. And stop. Just get on with it. Bro, my mom watches my videos. She's never played Fortnite. She needs the context. So here's the context. In Fortnite, there are many different locations that you can drop into from the sky. There used to be a location called the Dusty Depot. Now this location doesn't exist anymore, so I only have this picture. I just found it on Google. Credit to Virtual Gamer. Nice skin, bro. Dusty Depot, the old Fortnite location, was hit by a comet or meteor, doesn't really matter, and it became the new crater Dusty Divot. And this new crater in Fortnite, Dusty Divot, is where I dropped 100 times. And it is quite the hellish pit. If you drop into Dusty, you're going to get shot in the face, and you're not going to have any fun. I know from experience. I dropped there 100 times, and not a single one was enjoyable. But if you can drop into Dusty Divot and emerge victorious, eternal glory to you. Also probably some decent loot. There's a lot of really interesting things that happen inside of Dusty Divot that don't happen many other places in Fortnite. And while it's a very gnarly place to drop, it can actually be a lot of fun. And I'm very interested to see what happens with Dusty Divot as Fortnite ages. But I think now we should just get into it. Let's get started with game number 1. The footage you're about to see is game number 1, and it was taken on day 1 of the start of Season 4. Dusty Divot was the new location. We were all doomed from the start. Even without looking at your map, you can see exactly where Dusty Divot was. You know, everyone was going straight towards it. My first drop in, I wasn't entirely sure where to go. I didn't know what was going to be the best, and I saw a chest in this northern tower, so I just went for that. Day 1, there were a lot of people messing with the crystals outside of Dusty. I took a couple pot shots, but never hit anybody. We'll talk about these crystals later, don't worry. I dropped down out of the tower and miraculously found a blue pump. First rule of Dusty Divot is always get a shotgun. If you don't have a shotgun, you're gonna die. Oh wait, I guess I did hit a guy going for a crystal. Wow, I guess I killed more people with this hunting rifle than I can remember. The blue pump shotgun I found on the ground came in as a huge help. Having a shotgun in Dusty Divot, like I said before, is a key to victory. Most of the fights you're going to fight are going to be in close range. And if people are using the crystals found just outside of Dusty Divot, it can be hard to shoot them with precision-based weapons. But with a pump, it's pretty easy. What you'll find out about Dusty Divot though is there's really only enough loot for one person. And only one person is generally going to make it out of Dusty Divot alive. But if you can rise to be the champion of Dusty Divot, you'll have a pretty decent amount of loot. But my problem in this particular game is that I stayed inside of Dusty Divot. Dusty's more get in, get out. Not a great place to hold down. Drop in, get some nice kills, leave with some awesome loot. I loafed around in Dusty Divot a little bit too long and got shot in the back while running to the storm. Game number 2, I dropped into the old portion of Dusty Divot, Dusty Depot. There's still 2 buildings standing. I recommend only dropping here if you're a weak man and can't handle the true pressures of war. Yeah, there isn't really that much loot at the old part of Dusty Depot, and sometimes you'll end up getting a kill or 2, but you're never gonna leave here with anything good. Oh, I found a pinata, but that doesn't count. The Divot was still pretty insane. People were porta-forting and running all around. Building a wall, yeah! Game 3! Yeah, let me just get this out of the way real quick. In Dusty Divot, if you don't have a gun in the first 3 seconds, you're gonna die. And because of that, there's a good amount of these games where that happens to me. Though the footage you're watching right now is from Week 1 Dusty Divot. Yes, Dusty Divot has changed since it was brought into the game. Week 1, Dusty Divot was almost under construction. Not a lot of its pieces were put together. There were parts of the map missing, and it made it much more open. This is a flyover of Dusty Divot today. It's much more closed off. There's much more cover. The center building is completely carefully constructed. There are white pipes leading from building to building, which provide more cover when moving between structures. But none of these things existed week 1 Dusty Divot, and it made killing people incredibly easy. In this game of Dusty Divot, I killed everyone inside the wretched pit, took their loot, and left with some pretty gnarly stuff. Just kidding, the best thing I had was a blue pump shotgun. I guess this is a good time to talk about the purple crystals. You'll find them all around the map in Fortnite, but there's a ton of them outside Dusty Divot. For a short time, they'll make you jump higher and you won't take any fall damage. It can be pretty useful in combat for rushing an enemy. However, you do make quite a lot of noise whenever the crystal is active, so people are going to know you're coming. If you use the crystals, you can get pretty far outside of Dusty Divot with just one of them. Here I tried to go as far as possible using one crystal outside of Dusty Divot, just to see how far you could make it. And keep in mind, I'm not being hyper efficient with this method, and I still got pretty far. In the end, I snagged 8 kills, some pretty great loot, and all the rockets I could ever want. There was an intense battle over Loot Lake with only 3 of us left. I gotta give it to the other guy on this one. I was running out on Loot Lake like an idiot. I didn't think he would hit the shot, but he did, and I died. Game 4 is labeled Game 4, but it's definitely not Game 4. You can tell because I have the technique skin, which doesn't unlock till later. I guess this game does show you something I learned about Dusty Divot, and that's that there's really not that much building that happens here. 1, Dusty Divot's pretty open, and all of the materials surrounding Dusty Divot are metal. Not to confuse you, but here's some footage from Game 59. Outside of Dusty Divot, there are tons of little meteors, and if you mine them, you get very good metal. The problem is, these metal boulders are outside of Dusty Divot. They're inside a wasteland where no other weapons spawn, so generally, you can't farm them until you've gotten a gun inside of Dusty Divot and gotten some kills. So most of the time, at least at the start of the game, in Dusty Divot, no one ever builds. Isn't it terrible that I was playing the Thanos playlist but ended up getting killed by a default skin noob? Game 5, I was low on ammo and had to improvise, but I ended up getting a nice little stick on this carbide here. I really don't know what this guy was trying to attempt. I learned a very important lesson in this game. If someone's attacking you and they have a crystal, stay inside. Game 6, I just simply didn't get a gun. Game 8 is the next game we're going to be looking at because apparently I wasn't recording for game number 7. But according to my catalog, I came in 93rd place. Under my comment, I wrote, no gun. Tried to bamboozle the guy in the same lot. Obviously, it didn't work. Game 8, I dropped down with an ever-living will to murder my fellow man. And I died fairly quickly. I must have been tired or something, because Game 9 is literally 3 seconds long. Yeah, now it's over. Game 10, I had an almost perfect drop into Dusty Divot, just skating in fast and low. I started dropping more into the trailers. They can have a weapon on top of them, and sometimes can have chests inside. In Game 54, this west trailer provided 2 chests and a bunch of loot. Again, same old, lurking around Dusty, shooting unarmed men, nothing big. But Dusty was pretty packed and I didn't loot fast enough to get a shotgun. And remember, that's rule number 1. Game 11, I had another almost perfect drop into Dusty, though I still got one ticked in the face with a shotgun. Game 12, I had a fairly embarrassing drop and had to land at the Shack of Shame. You know what's messed up though? It didn't even have anything in it. I still was able to charge into battle with nothing but a crystal and my slurp hammer. I found the remains of a dead player and missed this shot on the default skin noob. I would spare his life for now. Though he ran around right back to the same area, so I just put him down. Ow, I'm getting shot in the back. Let's look at Game 13. We can take a little bit more time with this one because I didn't die instantly. Hooray! One thing Dusty Divot does force you to do is you have to use different weapons because wherever you drop, that's what weapons you have to use. I got probably the cleanest assault rifle kill I'm ever gonna get on this guy. I walked into this room and it was absolute chaos. This should show you why you should never sit in a corner. Guys, it just doesn't work. To be honest, this is how most of the Dusty games look. Me with very low health, barely surviving. Remember how I said strange things are gonna happen to you when you drop into Dusty Divot? Well, look at this guy. I just want to be clear, I do not recommend building a stairway to heaven and shooting rockets off of the top of it, because it's pretty easy to take you down. We got him! I emerged, the champion of Dusty Divot, but sometimes that doesn't always guarantee the best loot. And with low health, I succumbed to the shotgun of this Dark Voyager. Game 14, I got absolutely destroyed by this guy with his revolver. Game 15, I dropped into Old Dusty. I was immediately engaged by a carbide, and I silenced him fairly quickly. But yeah, you can't kill everybody. Game 16 started out fairly hectically, got a nice tower kill, and then also killed a guy running through the middle of Dusty. Killing guys who can't fight back isn't what's going to get you the win though. For science, this was a game where I wanted to hold out in Dusty Divot as long as physically possible. I built a little tower in the north and shot everyone that came near me. There was quite a large amount of killing. I got 7 kills and a decent amount of loot, but in the end, it didn't really matter. In Game 17, the only thing I could scavenge was a sniper rifle, but I did get 2 kills with it. But I did violate rule number 1, so you know what that means. Game 18, I managed to beat the guy to the chest and take him out with the sniper rifle. Undergunned, I found an SMG and discovered a new hiding space under the trailers. If you crouch under these trailers in Dusty Divot, you can stay hidden from the air, and you can also take passersby by surprise. And please, whoever you are out there, I don't care who's listening, don't be this guy. I love the SMG in Dusty Divot because there's not a lot of building to begin with, and the SMG shreds through any building that your opponents might do. As far as holding out goes, if you want to hold out somewhere in Dusty Divot, this north tower seems to be the best, at least for me. One of the easiest things that you can do that works like a charm is put a trap on this exact wall. Guys rushing up almost never see it. I wouldn't lie to you, here comes my first victim. I had a serious health problem, and all I wanted was a medkit. No matter how many times I killed people, no one had any. Like most of the games in this Dusty Divot series, I amassed a ton of kills, but not good enough loot to win the game. Yeah, by now you should start to realize that Dusty Divot isn't the greatest place to drop if you're looking for the win, or even if you're just looking to survive for very long. Truth is, most of the games look just like this one, game 19. Here's game 20. 21? Yeah, 22 was great. Most of these games, it's me dropping in and not becoming the champion of Dusty Divot, meaning that I die horribly. But sometimes you'll kill everyone, things will go really well, and you'll drink the sweetest chug jug of your entire career. Dusty isn't a great place to go if you're trying to have a nice evening playing Fortnite. Dusty is a great place to go if you want to fuck some dudes up. So while Dusty Divot is pretty low on strategic value as far as a place to drop, it's pretty fun to drop into. Though you probably shouldn't expect to win too often. Yep, absolutely great job killing me, SoulCap77626399. Game 26, I hit like a single atom of this guy. I then quickly blasted this camper and ruined the fun of a fellow carbide. Yeah, old Dusty Divot was a shotgunner's paradise. Hooray, I got 6 kills and all of my adversaries are dead. Game 27, I tried to hold out in Dusty Divot as long as possible because that one time I did it was pretty fun. Also because Dusty Divot is in the exact center of the map, it almost always has the first circle on it, which means you can stay there for a pretty long time. According to my data, 98% of the time, Dusty Divot will be in the first circle. This John Wick attacked me with a shotgun and I took him down with the only thing I had, a burst. Do you remember that trap placement I told you about before? Yeah, it still works like a charm. This noob was trying to run away, but I took him out before he could get very far. Would you believe it if I told you I found a golden scar on his dead body? I was AFK for a pretty long time, which you can do in Dusty Divot pretty easily. I emerged the Divot low on health, ammo, and resources, trying to fight my way to victory. But in the end, it's pretty hard to win a war if you're low on health, resources, and ammo. 28, 29. I guess we're missing game 30. Catalog says we took out 2 in a blaze of glory. Game 31, I ran down to Salty Springs to get a supply drop. Salty Springs was fairly empty at the time. It looked like no one had touched it. With my brain fixed on all of the juicy loot, I let the storm overtake me. I was far enough away where I probably wasn't going to make it, so I decided just to go down swinging. Now, about a week's worth of time passed between game 31 and game 32. In that time, I didn't play all that often and didn't record any games, but I did teach myself the Builder Pro button layout. If you play on console, playing on Builder Pro is one way that you can get an edge in building, which is very important in Fortnite. Though, like I've said before, Dusty Divot isn't the best place to go if you want to learn building, which is why I didn't drop here when I was learning the layout. From now on, all the games in this series are after the first week of Dusty Divot. Dusty Divot is now fully constructed, and it makes everything a little bit slower, but also a little bit more safe. Okay, maybe not safer, but it definitely plays slower. Game 32 was the... Or is this game 30? This is game 33. Game 33 was the first time I dropped into squads in Dusty Divot. It was also Jake's first time dropping into Dusty Divot ever. Ironically, he was the last one to die. You're gonna make it, bro!
Hurt real bad, man.
Shut up, you're gonna make it! Game 35, I knew there wasn't much that I could do against this full squad without any of my own comrades living. I tried my best to take them down, but when it's 1-on-4, you kinda just have to shoot them and hope that they make a mistake and kill themselves. Unfortunately, in this particular game, that just didn't happen. Game 36, the exact same thing happened, alone at the end against a full squad, and I didn't win. Game 37, I was fortunate enough to drop in and get a rocket launcher, but then I quickly killed myself in a panic. Game 38, you can see that while I'm getting better at actually building, I'm still not too great at fighting while building, but the Builder Pro controller layout is helping a ton. While attempting to kill this default skin, I was killed by a Twitch Prime skin, which is basically like wearing a default skin. Game 39, I had a fairly embarrassing battle with this John Wick. Neither of us could build because we were low on materials because, well, it's Dusty Divot. Game 40, I was the champion of Dusty Divot and had some pretty decent loot, but no shields or health. That's always unfortunate, don't you just hate that? I mean, I got every weapon I could ever want, all the ammo I could ever need, but no shields or health? What the hell? Then again, really all I had to do to not die was not miss this shot. By game 41, consistently, I was doing much better in all of my games. I was placing higher and higher each game that I was playing. Though yeah, I still haven't won any games yet, if you haven't noticed. I got a decent amount of kills and ran outside the storm to be a little risky to kill this guy in his own portafort to get his loot. I now had 2 medkits, so I thought I had plenty of time, but the storm started doing 5 damage per second, and yeah, that's what killed me. Game 43, the bus was going to be dropping dropping directly over Dusty Divot. I'm telling you right now, this almost always means certain death. Games 44 through 47, I dropped into the Thanos playlist. Ironically, I never even saw the guy. Game 48, I barricaded myself in front of this truck trailer and placed a bunch of remote explosives on the door. Miraculously, I didn't kill myself trying to blow them up and got the kill myself. But wouldn't you know it, I was shotgunned in the back of the head. Game 49 was an absolutely perfect drop into Dusty Divot, but yeah, I still died. Guys, we need a win. This is like really embarrassing. Let's do it! Game 51, I didn't make it. Game 52 actually didn't go too bad. Let's check it out. I dropped into Dusty and using the only gun I could, got a sequence of nice kills. As my loot increased, so did my ferocity and accuracy. I jumped my way out of the pit victorious with 4 kills and a ton of loot. I was getting better and better at building in combat, which if you want to win a game of Fortnite is what you need to do. In the end, it was me against a guy in a colossal base on top of a mountain. My odds weren't that great. Alright game, just please give me a rocket launcher, that's all. Damn it. I had to build up because the storm moved towards him, which was ultimately my downfall. I built and fought as best I could, but when the dust settled, I was still dead. Game 53, I would say that I was actually playing fairly well. Though the safe circle was far away, and while running away from the storm, I was kind of dumb. This death was 100% preventable. In Game 54, I was shooting at a telescope. I guess Dusty Divot's finally getting to me. In the games where I didn't get that great of loot, I basically just used them as practice for my building. I know I'm dying a lot, but it's getting better. 56. 57. Game 58, I lost the build war. Games 59 through 61 were played in the 50v50 playlist. With all the metal around Dusty Divot, you can build some pretty big metal forts. We still lost. Game 62, I started recording after I got a very heroic double kill. Then nothing else happened and I died. Game 63 through 66 were played with my fiancée. In Game 63, she was killed and I justly defended her honor. And in Game 65, we had an absolutely beautiful push on these two guys. Game 67, I had my earbuds in backwards and couldn't hear this guy behind me. Game 68 was the first time I tried the solo showdown playlist. Basically, a solo playlist full of sweats. I didn't do too bad. In Dusty, I got a couple of decent SMG kills. I was doing pretty well until I fell and broke both of my legs. I really like that dinosaur skin. It's nice. Game 69. 70. Game 71, I could have lived if I had simply built up. Game 72, I was absolutely destroyed by the legendary burst assault rifle. Game 73, I almost got him! I don't know. To me, right here, it looks like I was plenty behind this cover. Game 75, it felt like I could actually maybe win for once, but was then sniped from like a mile away. Game 76, I emerged Dusty Divot, the champion and legend. I moseyed my way over to Salty Springs to get some kills. As you all know, I'm pretty familiar with Salty Springs. The rocket launcher did make it fairly easy to take down the guys around Salty Springs. And while I emerged from the battle bloodied, I was victorious nonetheless. I had amassed some decent loot, some fairly nice health. My guns weren't anything to write home about, but at least I had a rocket launcher, and if I could find some more rockets, there was a good chance that I could win. Game 77, I was drinking G Fuel and had a sudden urge to have violent diarrhea. Sometimes it's just the price you gotta pay, you know, you drink that G Fuel, get those quick scopes. I dropped in with the only skin worse than the default one. I was glad I was dead. Game 79, I was killed by a default skin noob while running out of Dusty Divot. What I wanna know is what kind of filthy human being uses a damn porta-fort right at the start of the game. What a waste. I was trying to get through this pipe to kill the vermin. Yeah, these pipes were brought in with the new Dusty Divot. They slow you down quite a bit and leave you open to campers like this guy. Game 81, I found a dirty default whose heart had given out from the stresses of war. I put him out of his misery, but was quickly silenced by one of his default brethren. Game 82, I made friends with this Valor guy. I mean, I guess I say guy, I don't know. It's probably a guy, even though it's a girl skin. Anyway, we made friends. He was gonna offer me some shields. I thought, hell yeah, this is gonna look real cool in the Dusty Divot video. I'm gonna have some awesome footage, and then kills me. Game 83 didn't really go too well. Game 84, I dropped pretty close to someone with the same glider as me. There could only be one. In the end, I put up a pretty valiant effort against a guy who had a shotgun. Game 85, I probably could have won, but I didn't. Game 86, I hit a 22 critical hit and then turned around and hit another 22 critical hit. This game is broken.
I will slay you, demon, now!
Game 88 actually went pretty well. I hit some nice deagle shots. You like that? Here's a quick little combo to the assault rifle for the kill. Yes! Here I killed the guy with the Omega skin, highlight of my career. Again, probably could have won, but you know, didn't. Game 92, I was executed with honor. I will say one thing about Dusty Divot, it has made me a much better player. You're forced to fight or die, and do that enough times and you'll get pretty good at the game. Shooting people in the back helps too. Game 94, I got to use the jetpack. It was actually fairly fun. And in games 95 through 98, nothing really interesting happened. Game 99, get ready to tremble in fear at the flying bush of death. I don't know, to me the jetpack's a bit finicky, but sometimes you can hit some decent stuff with it. This time around Game 100, I wanted to show just how much I've learned from dropping Dusty Divot. So for Game 100, I took some time, warmed up beforehand, and played a pretty good game. Unfortunately though, the actual footage for this game when I recorded it live is corrupt. I just got a new hard drive and I didn't know that it couldn't record in 4K. Dusty's taught me a lot about Fortnite, and it's made me a much better Fortnite player to begin with. Now, while I don't necessarily recommend dropping into Dusty Divot 100 times because you're probably not going to win that much, if you're trying to get better at Fortnite, Dusty Divot might be a good place to go. Go back and watch Game 1 in this series. I'm night and day a better Fortnite player because of Dusty Divot. And really, when I started this series, that was sort of always the goal to begin with, to become a better Fortnite player. It's all sort of starting to come together, and to be honest, making these videos make me want to play Fortnite even more. So the next time you see me, maybe I won't only get 2 wins in the whole series. In the end, I destroyed everybody, becoming the champion of Dusty Divot, and then the world. Thank you all for watching, Fortnite fans. I had a ton of fun making this video. I hope you had at least a little bit of enjoyment watching it. I'm definitely going to be making another one, but I'm going to keep the location a secret, just like this one. Also, huge thank you to everyone that signed up for Audible last time I made one of these videos. You guys have seriously helped me do what I do. Thank you. If you want to keep helping me make weird videos like this one, make sure to click the link in the description or the link on screen in order to sign up for a free 30-day trial of Audible. It would really help me out a ton, because you guys know I need them V-Bucks. If you'd like to subscribe, make sure to hit that LTN logo in the top left of your screen. You can stay up to date on all of my content. Make sure you turn notifications on, because sometimes if you don't, YouTube won't let you know about my new videos. And if you'd like to see me drop Salty Springs 100 times, hit the video link in the top right. My name's Luke the Notable. I want all of you to stay notable, and I will see you in the next video.